What if no one ever fell ill? What if there were no predators to kill you? What if there were unlimited food, unlimited water, and a stable climate? What if there was always a safe place to sleep? Imagine a world where every basic need is met. First, I'd like to hear your take. If humans were granted unlimited comfort and resources, do you think society would flourish? Or would it gradually wither away? Comment flourish or decline below. His name was John B. Calhoun, an American ethologist and behavioral researcher. For decades, Calhoun studied how animal populations behave under different living conditions. His most famous experiment became known as Universe 25. The enclosure was designed to eliminate many traditional pressures on survival. Food and water were always available. Disease was controlled. Predators were absent. In 1968, Calhoun introduced 4 breeding pairs of mice. At first, the colony flourished. The population grew rapidly. By day 560, roughly 2,200 mice occupied the enclosure, well below its theoretical maximum capacity. For a time, the experiment appeared to be a success. Then the social structure began to change. Calhoun observed increasing aggression among some mice. Others became unusually withdrawn. Mothers increasingly neglected or abandoned offspring. Infant mortality rose dramatically. A group of males emerged that Calhoun later called the beautiful ones. These mice avoided conflict. They rarely courted females. They spent much of their time eating, sleeping, and grooming. Their appearance remained pristine because they avoided the injuries common among more socially active mice. Eventually, births declined. Young mice often failed to develop normal social behaviors. Newborn survival rates collapsed. By spring 1973, the colony had disappeared. The population had fallen from roughly 2,200 mice to 0, despite continued access to food and water. Calhoun described these observations in a paper titled Death Squared. He also proposed a broader idea. He believed that before physical death comes what he called a first death, the loss of social roles, purpose, and meaningful participation within a community. But Calhoun was careful about one thing. Mice are not humans. His experiment demonstrated what happened inside a controlled rodent environment. Whether similar principles apply to human societies remains debated. Part 2. The Human Parallels. Even so, Universe 25 continues to attract attention because some observers see echoes of its themes in modern life. In 2023, U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy warned that loneliness and social isolation were serious public health concerns. In 2025, the World Health Organization reported that loneliness affects a significant portion of the global population and may contribute to major health risks. Many countries are experiencing declining birth rates, increasing social isolation, and changing patterns of community life. Some researchers and commentators have drawn comparisons between these trends and Calhoun's work. Others strongly disagree. They argue that human societies are vastly more complex than mouse colonies and cannot be reduced to the dynamics of a laboratory enclosure. In Japan, for example, researchers have documented phenomena such as hikikomori, extended periods of social withdrawal. At the same time, Japan also demonstrates how economic pressures, housing costs, work culture, education systems, and demographic trends influence behavior. There is no scientific consensus that Japan represents a human version of Universe 25. Still, some observers view it as an interesting case study when discussing social connection and population decline. Meanwhile, social media has transformed how people interact. Supporters argue that it connects people across enormous distances.
No way! Really?
Critics argue that digital interaction can sometimes replace deeper forms of community. Researchers continue to study these effects, and the evidence remains complex. Be honest, do you feel more connected because of social media, or more isolated? Share your experience in the comments. Part 3. The Debate. The critics of Universe 25 make an important point. Humans possess abilities that mice do not. We create institutions, we build cultures, we develop laws, traditions, families, religions, and technologies. Psychologist Jonathan Friedman and other researchers argue that density alone does not inevitably produce social collapse in humans. People can adapt. They can create boundaries, communities, and systems that help manage crowded environments. Even Calhoun's later work suggested that outcomes were not always predetermined. Under some conditions, animals demonstrated surprising adaptability and innovation. This leaves us with a question rather than a conclusion. What exactly did Universe 25 prove? At minimum, it demonstrated that social structure matters. It showed that abundant resources alone do not guarantee healthy social behavior. Beyond that, interpretation becomes more uncertain. Some researchers see it as a warning. Others see it as an experiment whose lessons are often overstated. More than 50 years later, the debate continues. And perhaps that is why Universe 25 still fascinates people. Not because it predicts humanity's future, but because it forces us to think about what makes communities function in the first place. Food matters, safety matters, but so do relationships, responsibilities, and social roles. Universe 25 is gone. The questions it raised remain. Has modern society created new forms of isolation? Or are humans fundamentally different from the mice in Calhoun's enclosure? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this documentary, leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories exploring history, science, and human behavior.